Welcome. This is the DNX Show. We're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We talk about domain name investing. Always a riveting conversation. No holds barred, free speech. You can talk about anything you want. I don't even care. If it's not domain related, go ahead, may cut you off. If it's domain related, may cut you off. Anything may cut you off. But we got a lot of topics we're going to talk about today. You can check out the outline, dnxshow.com. The outline's right there on the main page. Normally it's me, Todd Ryan, and my co-host Josh Reason. Josh is on holiday. You know how the UK people do it, and they're pissed right now anyway because England lost in the World Cup. So my co-host is Samit he's from Bombay, really from Mumbai. Okay, same place, but he's helping out for the month of July, and I really appreciate it. Samit, what's going on? How's everything with you today or this evening?
No, it's nice. Enjoying the monsoons, as I said. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
This week's been kind of crazy on X, though. I don't know if you've been following all the information.
Well, as I get some of my notes squared away, because I have a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of it has to do with just comments on X, and it's very important. I mean, when I say very important, there's some good information that I wanted to talk about. But so, give me some of the highlights. What are some of the things that were mentioned on X this week that hopefully some are controversial because we like to get cuckoo crazy in here. But Samit, what did you see on X this week that caught your attention?
No, no, not controversial. Information wise. So Bob did his biannual analysis of domain sales via name bio data, and that was pretty interesting. Um, where .com used to be 85% of all sales, it's down to 73%, including down 2% from last year for 6 months. Uh, the analysis is superb. It's on NamePros. Actually, both the great articles are on NamePros. The other one is someone called Future Eye, and he talks about hand dredging trends in the future. And he's given a lot of information on uh, which verticals to focus on, what kind of names those verticals are using, and very very informative article. So both these articles are on NamePros. Um, I can link them, but they're easy now. If you go to Bob's timeline, you will see both these articles listed. They're really interesting. And of course, sales are always interesting. Controversies, well, someone posted that a tweet from 2021. Luckily, I took a screenshot before he deleted it. But he said Argentina beats Spain 3-2 in the finals. So that should be interesting to watch. The tweet was from 2021. So if you want controversial, I mean, there's a big one.
So it's like The Simpsons, I guess. The guy predicted it, and The Simpsons they always people talk about because they make predictions all the time throughout that show. I believe it was The Simpsons, and then they're right a lot. Who knows? But so this guy, we'll check. I was telling Ish and his thing, yeah, Argentina, I don't want them. Bunch of racists. I like to say, you call that, people get hot. But I like when I was looking, I'd like every time they show their lineup, but they wouldn't have any person of color on their team. They're like, no, but they wouldn't do that. I mean, that's why I look at it. And anyway, Argentina. I can't wait. I mean, to watch this. Hopefully Spain wins. But yeah, so they're really upset in UK, right? England national team. Okay, so I don't know anything about football, soccer, but and when I say I do, I know the rules and I watch it, and I've watched it for years, but not like I have on the edge of my seat with this one because I think Americans are like, hey, it's here. I know where Dallas is. My nephew went to a game or two in Dallas. He just moved from Denver to fucking San Clemente. Now he's like, this is the real life. Fucking this kid knows what he's doing. But anyway, so before he left Denver last week, he went to a couple games in Dallas. And of course, there's several here in LA. I had a chance to go to one, and didn't want to go. But SoFi's cool, never been. Anyway, yeah, so we got the finals coming up Sunday. I know Josh being over in the UK, people are just pissed. They're mad because that coach, just like we know in American football, you have a lead and, one goal is a big lead. I'm talking about this like I care. Okay, Sama, we're going to talk about Tony Names posted the money that he spends on domain names. And he was saying this was a light time frame for me. It was like 2 weeks that he posted, and it was really about $17,000. He was showing these are my buys over the last couple weeks. In about like 2 weeks, he probably bought stuff, say 8 to 10 days out of that. I don't have the post handy. Well, it's on our outline. You go to dnxshow.com. So I'm right there. Might as well look at it. Might as well look at the son of a gun.
Yeah, 12 days.
Yeah, 12 days. Okay. So, and he spent, I think I added it up like 16 grand. And he said that was light for him. So just taking him at his word, he's spending over $1,000 a day. So you can see over the course of a year, he's spending, say, 350, 400,000. He said he's spending more than that. All right. Well, I've been doing this for about 3 years now, he said on there. But anyway, so that's 1.5 million if he was just spending about that much. I'm assuming sometimes he's saying he spends more than that. But as I've always said, here's the only numbers I would want from people. And listen, so if you come on stage, I'm liable to ask you, how much have you spent? Okay, I always say I've spent now, say, 1.5 million over 25 years. And that's inclusive of, when I say what have you spent, that's what you spent on buying domains and what you spent on all the renewals. Not what you spent. You don't have to add in the hosting that you spent and any other bullshit. I'm talking about just pure domain name, say, investments in the domain name. So buying it, the purchase price, and the renewal prices. Okay. And then there's another number, and that is, well, what revenue have you generated from domain name sales? Okay. Mine was really, I believe, around 2.8, 2.8, 2.9. Net was 2.5. So, because you may have a lot of those afternic commissions, and then you may have, some people have a lot of, most of my bigger transactions were just direct to somebody, portfolio transactions, or the ones I was selling over in China in 16 and 17. The point is, so you have, how much have you spent on domain names? How much in revenue have you got from domain sales? And then net revenue, because, usually that gross. But anyway, if somebody just says, this is my gross, I can figure that roughly, we know where they sell them, roughly what their net is going to be. Basically, it's less than their gross, okay? And usually it's about 15 to 20% less than their gross. But because there's always somebody who, like myself, who had a lot of direct transactions, it may be closer to 10% than 15. But the point is, those are the numbers. And then after you have those numbers from somebody, then they'll tell you, but I also have 1,200, 3,200 names in my portfolio. So you have these two numbers, the money spent, the money, received, and then you usually have an inventory. So sometimes you could be like a break even, but you're like, I've spent $1 million, I've recovered $1 million net, so I'm break even, but yet I have 2,000 great names in my portfolio that I believe are worth 10 or 15 million. So, retail, if you retail, so I believe I'm in a good position, and they could be in a better position than some people who are profitable and have just a bunch of names in their portfolio that aren't as quality as the person who has just been acquiring quality. But the thing is, so you look at really those three things. How much have you spent? How much have you got back? And that doesn't mean you could be negative, but yet if you have a bunch of great names, single word in your portfolio, and like, dude, I spent 3 million, I've only made $1 million, but I got a bunch of single words, I got a bunch of 2-letter and 3-letter .coms, I only have .coms, I got a few single word name in AI. All right, so really you look at three things, at least what I would do, that's the high level, when you don't have time to F with people. Okay, that's what I want to know. But no one ever shares the stuff that could really get you understanding about, there. But it's almost like I said, as a financial advisor, if you're not this person's financial advisor, of course they don't want to tell you all this stuff, because as a financial advisor, but I love that, telling people, want to know everything. Like, okay, it's time to take your clothes off. The doctor's going to check you out. What's everything you have? Everything, every asset, every liability, every piece of property, every collectible, everything that you think's worth anything, those goofy ass cars in your driveway that you think are worth something. Anyway, I just domain investing is easy when it comes to analyzing or looking at wanting to look at somebody, but no one
So
ever wants to
let me
share the
ask
good
you a
information.
question, Todd.
Yeah.
Out of the million which you invested, how much was it from outside the business, as in not generated from your own sales? How much did you really take $1 million check and
No, no,
start
no. So
buying domains, or
it
did
was
you?
over time. A lot of it. So, some good question, but when I say it doesn't matter because the expense is the expense, and what I mean is, so I did over time, and what I mean is, so say my first domain I bought, abcproductions.com in 1997, really didn't start buying domains many at a time until 2001, 2002, and then buying them like you and selling them on eBay. So I was buying them then and then selling them for small profits, meaning like I remember I sold a package of 40 of them. I believe it was for $75 each. Is that right? Because but I had bought, purchased, hand registered all of them, and I sold it, and it was like a deal. I like, well, this is fucking awesome. So and then of course, so I might take some of that money and invest it back in domains, or maybe I just blew that money, and then money I was making as a stockbroker. I mean, basically money that I'm making as a financial advisor, I might have bought it. In my opinion, I would always just put what I spent on domain names, what I spent on their renewals, and where that money came from. A lot of us started off as just small sole proprietorships, or however you organized your thing, and then you say, it was commingled always with your, especially if you're an entrepreneur running a small business. But I always like, when people watch Shark Tank too, Summit, and they're like, are you paying yourself? Yeah, I bought a fucking slice of pizza the other day, and that came out of the money that I, got selling these flip flops. You commingle, so it's like, you're usually small businesses. You're just doing anything to survive. So yeah, I took some money that they said, well, you need to keep it separate. When you're early on, bud, it's all, listen, I'm trying to survive here. So I took some of the money that somebody paid for that bike tire that I'm selling, and I paid part of my rent. Oh, well, you don't need some millionaire, Mr. Wonderful, or the little Bob Hirsch of whoever the fuck. Oh, well, I don't know. It's kind of good. Anyway, so now if you're a company that has capital to start with, and you're like, so we set up as a corporation, we always had separate banks, we never paid each other. All right, but we know the real world, and those guys know it too. You do commingle, you do use. But anyway, so the assets that I used to spend on names came from all sources. I will say later on, and this was after probably 2010, especially after 2014, 15. Sure, then I made enough each year off of domain sales and I never went out and had big purchases. My biggest purchases were, $1,200. I bought it from Monty, I think, Cali Girl, because it's a company that I've been running since 2001. But so I always had bought a lot of names 2008, 2009, right before the four letters were, just getting extinguished and basically all registered. So then I would buy a lot of them that would drop, and then I would get them on the drop in 2011, 12, 13. Summit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then sometimes I get them at Snap Names, and I get them for less than if I had registered them 5 or 6 years earlier. Because then, many times then you're spending $50 if you registered it 6 years earlier on the renewals, and then I'd get them for like $19, or I can't even remember. Just so I was like, that was cheaper than if I would have registered it. And you know what? At the end of registration for four letters, you really got, they were, crappier letters. We'd consider them, less attractive letters. So I was really picking up some of my best stuff in 2010, 11, 12. And I say best stuff, like the four letter that had only, I considered, American premium letters. And then it ended up being all those crappy ones that I bought that had crappy letters. Those ended up being really, good. Good price I got for them in 2016, 17 from China. But yeah, so we're gonna just keep going on this conversation. But Ish, what a comment did you have with me going crazy earlier? What's up?
What's going on, guys? GM. No, I find it very counterproductive when people flex what they spent on names. It's like, we all know that it's usually sunk capital. When you purchase domain names, um, you're making a tough decision because that's usually trapped capital, right? Obviously, you expect to make some sort of return on that investment, but domain names don't work like stocks or crypto where you can, you know, give up a little bit of a loss for some liquidity to get your capital back, your gunpowder back or your bullets back so you can go seek other opportunities. So to me, when someone shows that they're spending, whatever amount of money on domain names, it's irrelevant, right? It to me doesn't make me look at you like, oh wow, you're so rich. Nah, it's just to me, it's almost like, are you suffering from that much of a lack of options? Because there are other ways to make money. Let's be real. So if all your money is going into domains, it's from typically from a lack of options, and um, domains. The more you talk about what have you spent, what have you made, the more I realize this game is not really about what you make, unfortunately. Because most people, I don't care what they say, I triple my money every quarter. It's all self-soothing until you really look at the numbers, right? When you really look at the numbers, most of us are just kicking dust out here and building a portfolio. That's really what the game is. You're building a portfolio of assets that you believe are quality names that at any given moment you can, hopefully sell, right? So if you have 1,000 good names this year, next year you have 1,000 even better names, then that's sort of like how we subconsciously measure our performance. We don't own up to it, but we dump a lot of money, and outside of money, a lot of time, a lot of sweat equity to build what we think is a more liquid portfolio than the year before, the quarter before. So I've observed this game. I'm a real person. I have other sources of income. And when I put all my energy into domains, I was running low on capital. And when I went back to what I was doing, I'm living my normal life now. I got cash in the bank. I got money to do other things. Domains are very stressful, bro. I've spent, I'm not going to say the exact amount of money, but I've spent over seven figures on domains since 2020. Like, if I could do it all over again, fuck no. I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? But here I am trying to build a better portfolio. So I do things like using AI to access my portfolio. It tells me, yo, you got $40 million worth of listed names and the low value is about 4.5. All that is wishful thinking. Liquidity is what makes the world go round, and domains are very liquid. And, they're one of those things where it's patchwork, it's not really one of those things where you could say that too many people know what the fuck they're doing. Everyone is acting like they know what they're doing, including this 20 names guy. Like, why are you showing a partial screenshot? Show the whole picture. If you want to be transparent, go all the way. Like, you can impress people in third world countries with that. Oh, here, man, that's lunch money, bro. We're not impressed by that. People like Adam impress me more. They don't brag about what they spent over a certain period. They show the full picture. I own X amount of domains. We know Adam has said he owns about 1,000 domains. We see when Adam makes sales, right? There's no excuses, right? We know what Braden does. We know what you do, Todd. Transparency is what builds trust. And to have thought leadership in any niche, you have to be transparent. Can't show the left hand and hide the right hand and expect people like me to respect you. Come on, man.
Hey,
Fuck out of
well,
here.
I was going to say that Adam, he's got a big head. I don't care what you say. Look at this picture; it's the size of a briefcase. Hey, just kidding. And no, I got you with Adam. Here's what I do with like Tony names: is I'm like Columbo. I'm like Peter Falk. Okay, so yeah, no one's impressed by the money you're spent. First of all, Ish, you're right about the big picture, and the big picture is all right. If that's where you're investing most of your money in domain names, yeah, that's fucking stupid. And I would say that to to Braden too. But Braden, it's like there's very few people that, well, I've proved that it's wrong. Well, it still doesn't. It's like I've known professional gamblers and they've beat the system for a few years. And some of them beat the system until they leave, I guess. So they beat the system, and when the system starts changing, they leave before they lose. But yeah, in my opinion, if your primary investments are domain names, well, you're just obviously you're not, it doesn't seem very smart to me. And then some people, like I said, they're swimming upstream and they can make it work. What I get from Tony's thing is, all right, so somebody posting sales, but okay, so like I said, Columbo snooping around. I'm not. No one's going to be impressed with anything. It's more of like hey, okay, so if you're spending that much, just like we thought, it's hundreds of thousands of or millions per year that you spend. So now when you do post those sales, we know you need to have a lot of sales. Just like, no one may be impressed with what Mike Mann does over at Domain Market, but we're like, all right, since we're all sniffing around this business, and I was going to ask, we all check out domaining, a lot of us do, and we follow the different blogs, and some of the stuff's interesting, but we're domain investors, and so it's weird. You're just interested in this business. I still look at, the news articles, and I still I love clicking on them. I love learning about it. And even sometimes, well, especially now, doing all sorts of things, domain dispute wise, legally, and working with ICANN. Of course, it's interesting stuff. But as a domain investor, um, you do getting this information from other people, but it is the real big picture. Where did the original money come from to start putting so much in there? Of course, you never find out. No one wants to talk about just their domain investments, let alone their other money, because then if you realize, all right, so this person spent also 50 million last year on oil and gas limited partnerships, but they spent 2 million. Okay, now we're realizing, okay, so there's really, if somebody ever did do that, and it's like from Grant Cardone, a goofball, but so he was making all sorts of money, spent that much on Bitcoin, but if he really has the capital and has a lot of other investments, all right, as an investment, advisor, you do want to look at the full picture. So then you realize that's not out of line to spend $1 million on this when you're worth 2 billion. But anyway, let's go to Arif. He just joined us. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining earlier. Then we go for 90 minutes here, so we got another hour. What comment, question are you thinking of?
I'm just having a good time listening to your rant. I mean, ultimately, like, I don't really look at other people's performances, right? I mean, I think people who share stuff, whether even if it's limited, is great. Like, I mean, the more information we have, the better. But as you said, context is really important. And so, I don't know if there's anybody out there who we truly understand all the, not just what they paid and how many there's so many factors involved that it's impossible to compare somebody's performance to your own, right? The only thing that should matter is your own portfolio and your own performance and if you're profitable or not, right? And then all the other information we get, great, is bonus, right? But I mean, like, I don't make my purchase decisions or pricing decisions based on what I see other people do. As you said, like, there's hidden factors that we don't necessarily see when people report single sales. In that, like, okay, yeah, it's great you had a sale, but like, what's the matching sell-through rate of similar domains in your portfolio, and how many do you have, and how long have you held them for, and what's the actual overall sell-through rate, right? A single sale doesn't indicate any of that. So yeah, it's not necessarily helpful overall, but individual sales, if it's from somebody you trust, it is helpful as a single data point in, like, okay, how much is this domain? What kind of domain is it? Is it similar to domains that I have? And yeah, a single sale is random, but like, if you have like 20 people who report similar sales, or one person reporting 20 sales of a similar type of domain in a similar sort of category, then yeah, that information can be helpful as a group of, as a, I guess, not grouping, but as a mass of information. So like single data points might not be relevant, but you put a bunch of them together and you can start to get a clearer picture sometimes.
We all watched Ron
Thanks.
Jackson for years, post sales. Sorry to cut you off there,
Yeah.
but name bio. Well, there's like you said, in context, what is really going on, but we can't help it. We want to look and see some sales, but they've always done this to help, promote the business, and then to sit back and
Yeah, but I got a question. When
yeah.
you share a screenshot that shows dates and prices, no names, nothing else, just $5,000,
Yeah,
$4,000,
that's a
just
that's a flex ish.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
yeah,
It's not
even
even
you should no no.
but it's not even a flex. You know what a flex is? If you we all like to flex. Shit, who doesn't want to flex? You want to flex? Show the full picture. Show those names. Like if you're gonna show a screenshot, show the names that you bought. Don't just show numbers. Like come on, man. We
Yeah, yeah, but he's not
NBA.
sharing. He's not sharing a data point. He's
who,
just sharing what his average week looks like, or
but
average
that's not
fortnight.
credible. That's not true.
He's
Just because you
doing.
say something
He
doesn't
said
mean
he's
it's
done.
true.
Okay, so
Look,
I had a fairly long
I
conversation.
can have a manic episode right now and go spend $30,000 in domains today, right? Anyone can do that. I have weeks where I spend ungodly amounts of money on domains. Depends on what comes in. If someone wires me 100 grand right now, we know what we do as domainers when we get an influx of cash. That's when we realize, oh, we should buy more domains. It's just this doesn't help anybody, right? And so I can show you a screenshot of a week where I spent 3,200 on a name, purchase another one for 1,000. I have those moments. We all have those moments. But you know what helps? Show us the type of names you bought. I don't give a fuck about you spending $3,000, $2,000. That's chump change, man. Real investors, bro, who are spending $300,000 on fucking monkey pictures. Who the fuck do you think you're flexing on, man?
But it is. I don't
Like,
look at it as I look at it as it's like you're telling on yourself that you spend so much. So when you posted those sales before, right? That's I knew. I just want to say I knew it. I already knew you spend a half a million and you sell a half a million. Now he's actually hit 4 million, and we're just talking about Tony because he posted some stuff. But to me, it's the absolute opposite. I don't look at it as
show the
flexing. I look at
names
it
if you
as
want to
he doesn't
flex.
know that
That's
he's
what the
well.
flex is,
He
right? Show the names. I spent 3,000 on this type of name. If
yeah.
you don't show the name, show the
No,
CLT.
I
Don't
did
just show
ask
me a
too for a couple
screenshot.
of the names. Like, so you don't want to post all of them. And people always say that it's because I'm still out acquiring and I don't want somebody to step in. But you could say, okay, let me tell you, out of all these ones I picked up, there were 19 of them or whatever the frick. Of all these I picked up, one of them was this and another one was this. No one needs to know them all. We're just trying to get an idea of what you spend $1,500 for. But I agree with you about the limited information. And some mentioned, yeah, when it's 4,000, 5,000, and they're not giving you all the information, that's just a fucking. It really is a waste. But we can't stop. There's just so many different domain investors out there, and then a new one comes along, and he doesn't even know how PO'd and how basically us, more seasoned investors think they're
Yeah,
idiots.
yeah. But
Yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
want to talk specifically about Tony, I mean, I wish he would come in here and chat, but he's quite. Don't go by his ex persona. He's quite under the radar kind of guy.
He's a nice guy. I met
He's
him
not
in
under the
person.
And
But go
radar.
ahead,
What do you
Summit.
mean is under the radar? You're not under the radar when you show us
X,
screenshots to say you
In
spent
person though, he's
16
X
grand and
extremely.
is
that's
He's a
what you
pretty
spent in a
good guy and
typical
shares a
week.
lot of
That's called
is
info.
less
bragging.
than
But
0.3% of India uses X ish. There's a whole wide world out there. So he's under the radar in general. On X, he's flexing. That's what I'm saying. He also flexes his muscles in the gym and what exercise he puts in and how many proteins he eats and all that. That's fine. It's his one persona. Nobody knows who the real Tony is behind that persona. So I spoke to him. He said I came in with about 15, 20 grand. I leveraged that into a portfolio and I bought and sold and grew it to now he's posted that he's done 4 million in sales over the last 6 years, 7 years. He started during COVID, so 6 years maybe.
So I mean, it ain't
So
turned 15 grand to 4 million. That's not the.
where
I'm
that
not buying that. No one has done that.
maybe
Well, no, he did not do that. His first purchases were 50. I came in this business with $0. You know what happened? Duck Club gave me $100,000, right? 60,000 cash, 40,000 in domain names credit, right? And then what's Identity Digital gave me $90,000 and another $50,000 in cash for marketing. I parlayed all that money into domain names. You don't hear me going, I turn that into millions of dollars in sales. Bullshit. I still have to come out the pocket and put money, real money into domain names. I spent $3,000 in domains this week. So you can't just tell me somebody came in here like he has three brains and he's a fucking the highest, smartest guy ever and spent 15,000 and turned into $4 million
no,
in the
but
last 3 years.
he's
I call
putting
bullshit on it.
maybe I don't know. I
No,
didn't look at his
listen. I'm
bank
telling
account.
you. If Tony
I'm
was here,
just
I'll say
going
it
by
to his
what he
face.
told me.
I call
Yeah, but the
bullshit on that.
point
That's
is,
bullshit.
one second, just chill out, man. Don't get so excited.
Hey, my bad,
I
man. You
honestly
know, it's my
don't care.
tone. I call
I'm like
bullshit on
Arif.
that. You can't bullshit
I'm
me,
like
bro.
Arif.
Come on.
I honestly don't give a hang what anyone
He
else is
started with
doing.
15 grand and he put more money. That's the bottom line. We all do
Maybe,
this for a
maybe.
living,
But
man.
he's also see Shweta also. Initially, she must have put in some money,
He's not
but
no
she had about
sweater.
five. I know
Sweater
Shweta.
came in at the right time. He just came in the last 3, 4 years. There's no one who came in this business and spent $15,000 in the last 4, 5 years and made 4 million in sales. That's a lie.
Well,
No,
somebody you
but
said 8 years. He's been doing it eight or
that's
nine
why they
years.
need
So to tell us this,
7 years. But
yeah.
they still need to keep buying because that's what feeds the animal, right? Once you stop buying, is when the whole that's when Todd's math kicks in.
Well,
Are you
are
going
you
to
trying
make
to say that?
money?
Are you trying to say that he got $15,000 investment and through hard work and dedication and reinvesting?
Well, now
Well,
he's got
No.
all of his money tied up in names. It's like shooting
See,
craps, and
look at
you've
it this
been
way.
winning, but it's all out there on the
If
table.
he,
So you're really
yeah,
at big
correct.
risk. But you're
He's spending, say, let's say, going by his math, 350,000 a year, and he's selling about 800,000 or 900,000 a year. Now he's doing a million RO or
yeah. He said he
run
was
on year.
spending more than that, and then we don't. But then you said he's been doing it 7 years. So right, those first few years he was only
6 years.
spending a
Yeah.
hundred thousand
So in
instead of
6 years,
five
he's
hundred
That's what I'm
he's
just
thousand.
done
saying.
4
Like,
million
where
in
can we get?
sales.
What's the source of truth? It's
Yeah,
Tony. Tony might as
yeah.
well just be like, okay, this is the picture. You don't have to tell us everything. No one
He
tells you
doesn't need to tell
everything.
you anything. That's the whole
But
point.
don't
He's saying
don't don't
whatever
send
I'm
out signals.
sharing.
Don't send
I
out
love
signals like other
Tony.
people are dumb and you like the
No, no.
smartest person in the
Tony thinks we
room.
are fucking idiots for coming onto X spaces and sharing knowledge. He thinks
That's
we're
what I'm
absolute
saying. Like
idiots.
just like paint the right picture. Don't show me a screenshot and think I'm gonna be
I
like
know, but I
wagging
think
my
it's proven
tail.
that you
Like
can share everything,
you,
and no
you,
one can
you,
mimic what you do. It's like sharing all your tips on being a fucking Olympic runner, and you think that most people are going to be able to go, "Ha, I'm going to do it now too." So they can't do it. So all these people that think I don't like to share, Josh has even said it. No one, it doesn't, it does, it. No one has shown that it can hurt you, and it really doesn't. There's enough for everyone. We're trying to also grow this fucking pie, like they say. We're trying to grow it and we're turning this into a real. It only has room for growth. But anyway, sharing all your goofy ass sales. Now, if right now a new term came out and you're in a business and you're like, oh my God, X402 is going to be the most popular term in the future for payments online. So we're going to see so many websites. And by the way, I almost registered X402pros.com because I wanted to use it. But the point is, if you're like, oh my God, it's going to be a term, and I'm not going to tell anybody about a genic until I spend my next 6 months buying all that. It's just never been proven that it hurts you, and all these fake ass NDAs. So anyway, Tony's saying if he really said that he thinks it's goofy that we're on here sharing fucking big jack off. Then no, the truth is no, that's never hurt sharing the shit because no one can mimic. Just like I said, I could share here's exactly how I get myself into shape. So now, oh no, it's a cheat for you and you didn't have to do the hard work. You still got to put in the hard work. So, anyway, we know that's bullshit. The sharing doesn't prevent you from being successful in this space. That's just a fact. Arif, what were you going to say? I know we cut you off a couple times there.
I just like, I don't know why you guys are all worked out about it. I mean, nobody who puts out partial
It's part of the
information
game. We got to
is
be worked out.
expecting.
Don't say that to it. That's part of the whole thing. We want to get all jazzed up and
Okay,
jived up. We're old
okay.
people.
So
We want
get
to have
worked up. I
cardiac
mean,
arrest.
like nobody out there is putting out information that I know of, expecting the whole world to praise them as the king of domains, other than the one king of
no,
domains,
there are
right?
people. There are people that do that. I'm being real. Tony has that habit. He wants to be so worshipped in the space. Like he puts out this info. The other day came out and said it's stupid. It's dopamine hits to do outbound, and very offensive remark and very blanket, like retarded take, in my opinion, for lack of better words. Respectfully saying that. I'm saying that in a funny way, not that he's retarded. He's a very brilliant person and worthy of all the accolades that he wants. But the bottom line is this: respect is earned and trust is built by transparency. If
Yes.
you're going to open your mouth and say, I'm doing this and you should follow my moves, then you got to give me the whole picture. When Bruce was talking about outbounding, I did interviews with Bruce. When I wanted to learn domain investing, I went to Rick Schwartz's house. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I came there with two motherfuckers with a camera. I met Muncie Khan. Are you telling me Tony's on their level? Like, I've done conferences where people have flown out, spent their time. Fucking Matt running Unstoppable Domains, they're all transparent. I host and I spend hours of my life every weekend interviewing people like Adam, Michael Durash, Todd, yourself. Everyone is transparent. So when I see that one guy that comes around and starts talking slick and throwing hints, I don't respect it personally. I don't have anything against the guy. Him and I are not enemies. I've never spoken with him. But bro, I'm from Los Angeles, California, bro. We will check you, bro.
Yes, Sully.
Like you come in this city and you're driving a Rolls Royce. You know what people are gonna tell you? That's a rental, bro. Show me the paper. Show me the pink slip.
You better
You
check
have to
in.
be transparent. We don't fall for gimmicks out here. I'm not a small town boy, so I know when I see someone pulling those moves, to me personally, it's like, man, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, so it's like if you're going to show me a screenshot, now you're really insulting people's collective intelligence, bro. That's how I look at it. Like, I can show you a screenshot of names that I bought. That what am I trying to imply when I do that? That I'm balling, that I got money to spend. I mean, what is the point of showing a screenshot of domains you bought in a week without showing the domain names? You're trying to impress people in India, where he's from. You don't impress people like me with that. You got $16,000 for an investment. Oh wow,
He's, she's from India, by the way.
that's what I'm saying. He's trying to impress people from India, which is cool because a lot of people in
He's
India,
not,
even in America, they
not
look at that like, oh my god, this guy has a lot of
no
money.
one, no one from
16
India
grand
is
on
buying.
domain names is not a lot of money. 16 grand on domain names is probably a speculative, high risk investment. You don't even know you're going to get that 16
Yeah,
back
yeah. But
in the next 16 years.
he's
What are
saying
we talking
16,
about?
20K in 12 days for the last 3 years. Now you do the math.
He did not spend $15,000 to make no $4 million. Unless he shows evidence, I call bullshit. And I'm
No,
willing
no,
to
I'm
bet a
saying
hundred grand on
No,
it.
he was saying he spends at
even now
least
he's
that every day. He said he spends, basically he was saying the last 3 years he spent about a half a million each year on names from the calculation. I think probably even
I
more
don't
than
want those
that.
fucking
No,
problems.
no, but
That's
my point
your
is, it's like,
addiction.
okay, so you spend so much that it's similar like our friend Renee. He's been spending a lot to build his portfolio to 10, 11, 12,000. He has a lot of sales and he's like, but still, is it more than what he's spending? Well, no, but he's building a portfolio. But that's why when Tony posted, I've hit 4 million in revenue. Well, fuck, I would have hit maybe probably 6 million in revenue if I was spending what you were spending over the last few years. So we still can't gauge it. But the thing is, they want to say certain things, and it's like, well, I said it way back before I met
Yeah, you
Tony.
can't just show us the highlights without showing us
Sure, sure. That's
the
like
ups and the
that's like
peaks
what
and the
Paul does
valleys.
when
Yeah,
he
that's my
shoots
point.
baskets. He shows you when he hits the baskets, and then he's not showing us the ones he misses. You got to get this motherfucking
That's the
Paul
thing
up
is that
here.
people
Hey,
people people can show whatever they
God, I
want. Now
waited to get that in.
you're also allowed to take it within context or say it's not enough information to be
That's
pertinent to you.
exactly what we're doing, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. But like, I don't know why we're getting so worked up about it. We
Well,
just ignore it.
No,
that's
Like,
it's
part of
not
the
about
fun.
being worked up. I'm not worked up. This
Yeah,
is
it's
you. You
like,
know my personality. This is
no,
it's called passion. Look, this is the thing, right?
all
This
right,
in this space, in this business, there are people that are very successful, right? I don't consider myself a successful domainer. I consider myself a struggling domainer, right? But thankfully, as a struggling domainer, I'm not underwater. I look at it like, okay, I'm building a portfolio. I haven't been in the game long enough. Maybe 10 years, you'll be able to say this was all worth it. When someone comes in and says, I just started doing this and I figured out a way to be smarter than everyone else who started doing this, I get suspicious. And I take it like, like how Michael Jordan said at that moment it became personal. That's kind of like how I'm wired. It's like, come on, show me more. If you're gonna tease me and say you're so good at this, I want to learn from you if you're so good at it. And if you're really low key, I won't even know you're good at it. But if you're going out there and saying, I've sold $4 million worth of domain names, now you're fucking taking a piss
yeah,
like the
and
British people
and
say.
about the like the show looking over here. I like people that are in shape too. When I was 45, I was motherfucking bionic. Okay, when I was 30, no one could handle me. I was pro athlete. Run, but anyway, we want to hear from Ragu. Enough about me. I'll post pictures later. Ragu, why don't you clear this up for us about the big talkers from
Yeah,
India?
yeah, yeah. I know. I can understand Ish. I can understand Summits. I can understand you, everybody, no issue. But here's my 2 cents, right? With Ish, that's the style of people are business people in India. I mean, forget about the domain business. You go into any business of India and they're billionaires or millionaires, man, they don't give a fuck what you say. They spoil the ethics. They will do it, but the bottom line is they know how to make money. All right, and it's a
Raghu, shut
different.
the fuck up, man.
Shut
There's
the fuck
nothing.
up.
This
What do you
has
mean?
nothing to
Hold
do with
on,
being Indian. I have Indian
hold on, hold
friends.
on, hold
I
on.
grew up with
This is
Indians all
not
my life. Get out
okay.
of here
This
with that
is
nonsense, bro.
listen,
Is it
listen,
the is
listen.
it the nature of Indian people not to pay me the
Yeah,
$100 you owe me? Fuck out of
yeah,
here, Raghu,
yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
you you
yeah.
you talk about stereotypes, but you want to make
Okay,
it
hold
sound
No,
like
on,
Indians
Ish,
are like
hold
this.
on, man. You let me
Raghu,
Raghu
speak,
is
man.
hold
Canadian.
on.
He's not
let
Indian.
me let me speak
Yeah, he's
let me speak
Canadian.
now. Whatever you formula you talking about, LA or California, I accept it. That's the way it
No,
is
it has
because I
nothing to do
know.
with that. My point is,
Oh yeah,
look,
why the
look,
fuck
it
you
has
say that
nothing to
you're
do with your
California?
nationality. It has
No,
nothing
no,
to
no,
do with
no,
your
no. What do you
nationality.
think about this rose rise in California? Yeah, maybe that is the style you have there, and
No, no,
it's
no,
okay.
Raghu,
It's
Raghu.
okay.
That was an analogy. It
Yeah,
has
but
nothing to do with your
it's a
nationality.
moderation.
It has to
It's a
do with it has
moderation.
to do with it has to do with what
Okay.
I said, Raghu.
No, it is.
You have to
This
be
is not a cult.
transparent.
Domain is not a cult. It's just another business. Okay, it's not a cult where you have someone have to answer you. All right. It's good to know. It's good to learn as a student, or everybody's learning, as you said. All good, man. But you have to understand, everybody's not coming from where you fucking coming from. Do you understand that part? This is what I'm trying to say.
So are
I
you
don't know
saying it's
how
an
to
Indian thing?
express.
It's an Indian thing to
No,
show
it is. Yes, it
screenshots?
is.
What are you
Yes.
saying?
No, no. Oh, I'm saying it like if this guy is saying, I was from nothing, from dirt, I became billionaire, right? A lot of people have stories like this,
I
don't
don't
they?
think he's saying that. That's not what he's saying.
No,
He hasn't
no,
said
no.
that.
You said that. Like, why not?
That's not what he
For
said.
50,000, 15,000, where $15,000, you bought a domain name for 5 names. You sold it for $100,000. Now you have $100,000. You multiply that for $250,000. Now you have a
You
quarter
and I
million
know that
dollar.
that's delusional talk, man. Are you
No, no, it's not
crazy?
a delusion, Todd. I started off just like Todd was telling his story. I was catering my own business with these domain names, and then I said, oh, it's a good idea. Let's buy some more
Yeah, you
and
guys believe you
flip
guys
it.
believe the fairy tales all you want, so I don't
No,
believe the
man,
fairy
you
tales.
don't understand, man. People made money from traffic. People made money from clicks. People made money from exchanging portfolios. People did all. You think Andrew Rosen came from the top? He came just like me and you.
No,
Started
he
fucking
lost three
selling
hundred
fish.
thousand dollars when he started, is
Yeah,
what he
so
said.
what? So
That's
what?
what I
So what?
respect. I respect the transparency. I
No,
respect
man,
the grit. I respect the
yeah, but
hustle.
there are a lot of people like him. There are a lot of people like him. Believe me.
Yeah,
Believe
but
me.
that's
That's
a
all.
broker. That's like Monty Khan. Monty's made money from the business, from operating businesses within the business. Drew Rosner, sure, he probably been a successful domain investor. His main business is brokering domain names. Don't and then getting Chris Zeicher
That's right.
and building a
Yeah,
team that way. But all these guys, only
yeah.
the only
He's a
one that
good
I know,
salesman. He's a good salesman.
we said Braden. We see some guys I know. Anish used to do it, but Anish runs an accounting firm. He owns Name Bio, runs an accounting firm with his dad. Still may own, own 60 to 80,000 names. But the point is, even he was like, "Fuck, man, I need a real,
Domains are
other
not
income,
rocket
not
science.
just focusing on domain investing." So for those who are like,
Yeah.
listen, I'm just a domain investor and I did go from rags to riches. All right, well, yeah, a lot of us are going to be really skeptical because we know, listen, you're just like a fucking handicapper telling us I can pick the games. All right, well then pick the games. Pick it beforehand. We're all going to watch, and then it's almost like no one has really come through here. And
Yeah, but
even,
Todd, this is an individual game. This is not a spectator sport. I know so many
That's
people with
right.
tens of 10,000
Yeah.
names who you've never even heard of.
sure, and
They don't talk. They
right,
don't
but most
publish
it's like
on X. They don't do
sure, but it's like
forums.
saying a bunch of
And it's,
gamblers we
I'm
haven't
pretty
heard of.
sure you know at least a dozen.
It doesn't mean that they're but most of them might still say all the ones that still 9 out of 10 of them aren't. It wouldn't impress, but they're losing money, and the ones that are making money, I'm thinking, do you have to do so much work?
I spoke to a guy who's been doing this a little long, about the same time as me, and I thought he was at about 10,000 names. So I just casually asked him, "So have you crossed 10,000 yet?" And he goes like, "No, I just crossed 200,000." And you never hear of this guy.
Well, okay. Does he
and
make a lot of money? Is he
he's completely
is he
under the
make
radar.
a lot
He's
of money off
apparently
domain investing, or
how do
is,
you pay how do you pay renewals on 200,000 names if you're not making money?
well, what do you mean? How do you?
But
We don't
I
know.
told you,
He could have exited other companies and had a lot of money and realized it's like what a lot of people do. Not every investment or
No,
everything
no,
they get involved in,
this is
but
what he
it's almost
does
You
like,
say
full
how do
time.
you
oh
pay
He's
no, it's
been
just
doing
easy.
renewals
It's
it
easy
for
for him. If
20
it's
years.
If
easy
you say
for
how
him,
do you pay renewals on 200,000 names that I don't make it money, I'll tell you how. Having hope, opium, having an addiction,
No,
right?
no, but he
Having
doesn't have
false
external money.
conviction. People do that
He's
all the
making
time. Do you know how
money.
many domainers spend money on renewals and don't make enough to cover their renewals and somehow, some way figure it out? That's the point I'm trying to make. Like it's such a thin margin between being profitable and barely making it in the domain industry. It takes
No, no.
time. If you listen to the
If you don't
success of
make enough for
domainers, if you listen to the success of domainers summit, what they have is a long runway or a lot of capital or both. So people who've been doing it since 2000, 1999, 2005, they're seasoned. They've put in that time. But anyone who came in here in the last 5 years or whatever, you have to put in a lot of capital, and that doesn't assure a return on investment. That's just my
you
point.
know, past performance doesn't predict future in this business, but people can't help themselves to think, okay, I've made money so far. I'm making money, and now you're stuck. You got 200,000 names. Well, you still have to perform every month, and the point is, so yeah, that doesn't. It makes me think. Just like when people get mad at Mike Mann, how do we know he's really profitable? We don't until we know all the numbers. So with somebody that has
no, no,
200,000
he
names,
was very no, no, he was very clear. I asked him, and I told you last time, I think 2016 or 2017. I asked him, "Are you breaking even on renewals?" And he said, "No, not yet." And then a couple of years later, the his average selling price went from 800 to about 2,200. This is all information he shares,
yeah, no,
either
listen,
on
I
Facebook
know
or
since
LinkedIn or
then.
whatever.
So if I had to say today, yeah, I
And
know
now he's profitable.
Mike is
But
above
is
making
he
more than he
profitable
spends.
on the amount of money that he's invested?
Yeah,
Nobody knows, right?
but because he received a lot from when he sold the previous company, but so long ago. But still, it was just such a substantial amount. And he's like, yeah, now I actually do. I'm positive on domain names. It's sort of, I know how my partner Chad works with 22,000 names. So many of them were great low cost basis names that he's registered way back in the day that finally when you get a sale like mergers.com for 650 grand, it really pays for a lot of the stuff, but it's still, you're so definitely ahead of the game, but it's not what people think. There are, those expenses that go by so fast every year, 250,000, 300,000 in renewals, and then of course still buying names, loving that name for 1,100, loving that name. So but anyway, about somebody that owns 10,000 names. I know there's tons of guys. Everybody wants to talk about all the people we don't know in this business, and there's just so many that are just losing money. It's like poker players. Like I said, there's a lot more poker players than just signed up for the World Series of Poker around the world. Yeah, there's millions, if not hundreds of millions, and you know what? Most of them are just losers. It's like gamblers. They're losers, but no one wants to, say it. And the thing is, like I said, a lot of guys. Um, uh, I can mention a few. You're building portfolios, and it's like you're leaving more and more money out there. Soon as 7 out, you're gonna be gone. But the point is, you're counting on past performance for future performance, and that just doesn't work in this space. But people can't help but say, well, Arif will chime in just a second. It has for me, and my stuff has shown this. But there's a lot to be said for people. Your best names do sell. And when I say best names simply means there's somebody out there that already wants it, not somebody in the future that may want it. So your best names are ones that somebody already proved they wanted it by buying it, and the ones in the future that people just haven't pulled the trigger on yet, you're just simply, you're waiting, and basically a bird in the hand is worth, more than two in the bush. All right, Arif, what do you want to say? There's got to be something.
Yeah, I didn't even turn my mic on, but yeah, I mean, look, you're not entirely wrong. I mean, also, like, there's probably nobody in industry who's been as transparent as I have, while also having a portfolio that's pretty similar from top to bottom, right? So like
Well, how
just
much have you
to
spent
That's not
total,
calculate
and
true,
how much have
Aaron.
you
You're not
generated in
that
revenue?
transparent. Don't give yourself
How
that
much
kind
have
of
you spent
accolade.
total on your?
not in the last year.
You're not that transparent. You just say
Well, I mean,
you say things that I, to be honest with you, sometimes question. I double my profit every year. I
yeah.
find that to be
Well, I've shared enough sales over the last 6 years.
no, you haven't. You're not that transparent. You're not as transparent as Adam.
I'm not.
You're not as
So I won't.
transparent as
So
most. You're
it's
not
just
that transparent. You're not
I
gonna get
will
away with that
agree.
one.
It's
Nope,
just
nope,
I
nope,
will
nope.
agree. Hold on, time out. I'll agree in the last in 2026. I've been less transparent in the past just because
No,
I'm
Arif, you're just generally not that transparent. That's okay. You can't just come here and
well,
say you're the most
you
transparent.
can ask Todd over the last 5 years before that. I've shared a
But
lot of
how much have you
sales.
spent total, and how much have you got back
I'm not
generated?
saying that anymore on X. I'm not saying that anymore on X.
Oh
I'll
well,
share some on
okay, but
Zoom.
those are
I
the
was just
two.
like
Those are the two numbers that I've never heard you say any more on X, like you had said it before. But the point is, those are the how much
no,
have you
I've
spent,
I've
how much have
shared
you
exactly
generated,
what I've
and then
bought
okay,
over
and then
how
you have
many
a
years
portfolio of 5,000
and my
names.
Arif,
average
it's
price
okay
point.
not to be transparent. There's
Wait,
nothing
wait,
wrong with it.
time out, guys. I've numerous occasions over the years said how much I've bought over the first years if I've started, and subsequent years how much I've spent, my average price points, and you could calculate that fairly easily, right? I'm not going to spell it out and all that stuff because it's like at a certain point the exact numbers is confidential information.
Well, no
But
one's wanting
like if you want
exact.
to
Have you
get,
spent 1 million and you've returned 2 million?
I'm not. You should know that number. All the sessions we've had together, you should know that number. You should know that number. Anybody who's listened to me more often than not over the last 5 years should know that number or should be able to open up a spreadsheet and within 5 minutes figure out what that number is very easily. Right? So, I don't know what else to tell
Well, then say
you.
the number if it's that easy. Say the number then.
I'm not sharing that information on X anymore. I'm not
Oh
going to
wow.
feed Elon's friggin' grok and all that stuff anymore. I'm just not going to do it.
How
But
about a
I've
range?
shared this
I'm just kidding.
before. You want to next time I do a Zoom, I'll tell you that number more or less.
Arif, honestly, whatever you're thinking now, all your devices already know.
Yeah,
So you have
you're
a
not wrong. You're
phone, you
not
have a
wrong there either.
laptop,
But I just,
you have a
Can
but
can
smart
can can
TV,
someone guess what
you
I'm
have
thinking? Can
Wi-Fi.
someone guess?
No, Ragu, how much have you
Can
spent
someone
total
guess
on
what I'm
domain
thinking?
names? That's just
Arif
one
came
question.
on stage and said,
Ragu, how much
"No
have you
one is
spent
as
total on domain
transparent
names?
as me."
no, but no, I wasn't saying that. I always say, look, doubling your money is friggin' awesome, but I like it doesn't compete with some of the people who
I
are
don't
really
believe you double your money.
shocked.
I think that's something you tell yourself to keep
Well,
yourself inspired.
Hold
I
on. KW
honestly
is coming up
don't
here.
believe
I'm
you
sure
double
she's
your
gonna
money every year.
she's gonna side with Arif. It's personal stuff. Quit
He,
badgering the guy. I'm
if
just
he
messing.
doubles his
KW.
renewal
That
cost every
definitely
year.
sided with
Yeah.
Arif.
Serious.
Go ahead, KW.
I've got cut off a million
I
times
know
when I
I'm
was
an
trying
asshole
to.
today. I need to go grab some coffee. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't had my coffee.
This is how you are before coffee. Don't drink any
KW,
coffee.
please. The stage is hers.
Just wanted to say, when did we start bullying people into talking?
We're not
We're,
bullying anyone. We're just having a casual conversation about transparency. And my take
Oh
on
yeah,
it,
oh
I think
yeah.
that's
You want me to
bull
send you
because
the
actually
email?
I heard
You
a
want me
lot
to
of
send you the
bullying.
email? Ish, you bull me all the time, man.
oh yeah, whatever, man. That's all you're telling me your sales yesterday. Anyways, my take on it is if you're going to share information, share enough information where it's meaningful, not partial information where it's meaningless and confuses people even more, right? That's my take. Everything else is just humor and
and we're not
disregard
asking
it.
everybody about their whole life finances, but in domain
Yeah, we're
investing,
talking
people
about
come
this
in
is in the
here, and
context
we
of
know
domains.
people, and we know. Listen, Arif's tough enough. We're in you like you, KW. No one's going to be bullied. He can say what he's going to say. Hey, I don't want to share that information, and we get from all the guys from I say Tony names. I'm sure they would say it. Everybody else that gets on stage, people just don't want to share. And all we've been saying is all I've been saying. This is just me. Those the only numbers that really matter, no one really wants to share. And I've always said that no one wants to share.
No,
There's
no, no.
two
One sec.
columns. How
Todd,
much have you spent? How much
Shweta
have you?
shared everything. Shweta shared her Afternic account, her
Shweta
Dan
is
account,
very transparent. I can tell you who's
and
transparent.
her
Adam is
sales.
very transparent.
One sec.
Todd is very
She shared all
transparent.
that information. And what was the bottom line? People still didn't believe her.
Well,
Anyway,
that's
hi
there, but
KW.
that's other
Would
reasons,
love to
though.
hear
Yeah,
from you.
I
That's
never.
other
I
reasons.
was
There were
never
other
like that.
reasons they didn't
I
believe
believe
him.
Sweth. I wanted to say too. I see Ryan here. When we do this $1 million challenge, the whole point of it is to be overly transparent because Ryan, he has some big goals, turning $1 into $1 million. All right, but I'm going to be watching every single dollar, every transaction. But this is exactly what, and we've talked about it, Ryan and I have. This is exactly what somebody outside the domain space or also in the domain space or a true investor would want to know. All right, enough with all the bullshit, all this, quit
I don't
highlighting
know
just
why
sales.
domainers don't. I don't know why domainers can't just be honest and say this is a very tough business. Sometimes I lose sleep. Why do we always have to paint this picture of it's so rosy? I triple my money every quarter. Like get the fuck. I'm in the trenches with you, man.
Yeah.
Who says it's easy? You don't know any single domainer who says it's easy.
Yeah, I can tell you what Shane's always talking about. I get to live where I want to live and do what I want, and I run in the wind. And I'm a domain investor, and this has brought me this freedom. We know, but the thing is,
Yeah, yeah, but
it's a difficult.
he had a family-owned nursery for like a large part of that. Remember that?
40 years. But no, and I like Shane. Shane shares. Does he share a lot of stuff? One, as much personally than as he does, business wise, and he does, the value that he brings is he's always went through the list on his website, and you know what, you can find gold in there. Yesterday had some great stuff in there, but the point is, that's really helpful. So then everybody brings their own personality to domain investing. And you know what? The truth of it, some of us get along, some of us don't. And what I mean is, it's just like it's not your style of person. KW could say anything. She's my style of person. When I go to the events, it's like one of the first people I'm like, hey, so we're here. Okay, so I know I have, a home base. But my point is, when it comes to all the different personalities, and a lot of us maybe have different views on other things. I like the different perspectives, like when Ish brought to the room today, that I'm like, hey, look, I was looking at Tony's information and trying to, like I said, be a Columbo and get what I can out of it to deduce, okay, what is this person spent, a domain investor really spending, like I would like to do with Renee. Renee is growing a portfolio. How much does it cost to grow a portfolio that fast? And he wants to get to 100,000 names. How, then I'd like to go to the next level of knowing, all right, so that money that's coming in on domains, you're really using pretty much all of it to buy into more domain names, and very risky in my opinion, but he has a strategy, has a method to it, and he's probably using, I think he said he has, he tries not to use anything outside of the domain money that comes in, but how do you build a portfolio that fast without, reaching into some of your savings or other areas? And then when someone says, by the way, I do have a trust fund, there was a few guys, remember, who had trust funds that came in and were buying names for over 100,000. Well, a trust fund, well, that's fun. I've never had one of those. When my parents died, it just cost me money. But okay, so we've covered a lot of stuff today. If you want to check out the outline, dnxshow.com. I'm going to take a look at it to see, there's several things that we were going to touch on, just what I'm missing. But KW, any straighten us out a little bit. Tell us to be nicer to each other, and love, love goes a long way.
No, the truth is, I think it's a great topic. I liked where it was going, but when Arif tried to talk, you guys just shut him down. So he doesn't want to say a number. I just let him not say a number. I don't get why he had to get badgered. But that really, I'm not saying that's the whole point of here. It's really not about that, because I don't like to shut down conversations or even be known for that. The point I'm trying to get at is Arif had stuff to say, but we didn't hear it. I just don't know what it was, and I
No,
wanted to
what he
hear it.
said was he's the most transparent person, and I shut it down. Ish, I did. I took
And I
responsibility.
don't agree with you. I
Okay,
don't
that's
think
fine.
that's
That's
what he said.
okay.
He never even finished one sentence. And if
No,
you
that's okay. I'm telling
play back
him.
the last
I'm
5
telling. I'm
minutes,
telling
I'm still
Arif in his
speaking.
face. I'm telling
I'm
Arif in his
still
face that he's
speaking,
not the
Ish,
Ish.
most
that's not what I
I'm
transparent.
said.
still speaking, Ish, and you're talking over me. The when you hear Arif play it back tonight, when you're like wanting to hear it, he started to say things, and we couldn't even hear them. I just don't know why.
I just
I
can't
didn't even
imagine
say
he's
that.
going to say something we haven't heard before. Okay, that was low. Arif, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm not gonna. I think we've talked about this for like the last hour or so. But all I said was like, I've been very transparent. If you listen to what I say, all this. And in the past, I've shared dozens and dozens of my sales, right? But it's not just that. I understand it's not everything. But I also said that if you combine what I've shared and the things, the numbers I've given in terms of, when I've bought, the type of domains I bought, my average purchase prices, combined with the fact that my portfolio is fairly flat in terms of the low end of stuff I've bought with the high end stuff that I've bought, which makes it a lot more easy to calculate the overall numbers. That's what I'm saying. Those two things combined is like, okay, I've been pretty transparent with my overall portfolio, right? Because a lot of other people can be transparent, but if they're buying domains for like $5 and $500 and $5,000, then yeah, as Todd said at the beginning, it's really hard to judge, well, what's the value of their portfolio? Even if they've made money or lost a little bit of money or broke even overall and have, let's say, like 5,000 domains at the end of it, right? Well, then you also need to calculate, well, what's the value of those 5,000 domains? And then, even I listed all my 5,000 domains, we still wouldn't all agree to what it's worth. So at the end of the day, like, we really can't evaluate other people's portfolios as well as we'd like. It's just, there's never been enough data.
Arif, you're saying a lot of double nothings, man. You're saying you're being transparent and we can't evaluate your portfolio. You also said you're the most transparent person, and that's what I pushed back on. So
I didn't
can
say
you
that.
tell me, what did he just say right now?
I'm not even going to say it anymore because I've said it twice. I did not say what you're saying. So we'll continue. There's half an hour left and we have lots of topics left. So go ahead, Todd, just continue the conversation.
I was thinking when you were
Or
talking
go back to KW.
about not evaluating other domain investors. I like that guy. He's the young guy that's all over, the most popular guy now. Young, good-looking guy that he look maxes people, or whatever they call it, where he walks around, he tells people your jawline's fucked up, or excuse my language. He tells you how you're a 4.5. So that's what I like to do to domain investors. No, you know what? Spin around. Let me see what you got in the back. Okay, so I wanted to say that there was a funny guy that posted on X who said, hey man, website domains need a system where if you don't build anything for 5 years, it automatically goes up for auction. And he posted this on X. The link is on our outline at dnxshow.com. But I guess even Tony Names chimed in. I don't know what he said. Jeremiah, our friend Jeremiah, chimed in and said, oh, you can't afford what you want, try a different flavor. And the guy said, responded to Jeremiah, I'm obviously triggering the domain squatters. But anyway, so this guy, and he did, and he does, domains. When people say that Samit, I don't know if you saw that, but what do you think about a comment like that? It's just fun, isn't it? Hey, if they don't
I
build
think
on
I
it in 5
replied to
years.
it or quoted it or whatever. My contention is that even if it did go to auction, he still wouldn't be able to afford it. It's not like domains don't go up for auction on GoDaddy. How many people can afford to buy them?
I think it shows that people still out there think, yeah, and like you said, domain squatters, you guys buy stuff and hold it, and you guys want to say it's like land, like you bought some land down at the beach way in advance and you're waiting for people to come. Well, this is not land. This is, part of the internet, and it's not expensive like land. Even land back in the day, on average, seldom did you buy, when you bought shitty land like I did in southern Colorado or in the desert in 100 miles outside of Las Vegas, it still sucks today. Okay, so land in Manhattan Beach, California in 1920 was expensive for at the time. So it's just a different. We like to say it's like we're real estate, we're pioneers. We go in and we bought it, but there's still a big a large number of people that just think, hey, you guys are squatters on domain names. As soon as there's a new extension that comes out too, you guys run to it if you think it could possibly catch on with the public, and then put stakes in the ground everywhere. And then somebody else comes along and you're like, listen, I got to charge 100 times because I got so many investments, like a record label, that I got to make a fortune off one because I lost money on all these others. Just the nature of domaining. I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Even in real estate, there's some locations where, if you're in a city and you have like a commercial land or whatever it is, if you don't develop it in a certain number of years, they're going to take it back, or they're going to force you to sell. They're going to do some rezoning or whatever it is, right? There's some CCTLDs where that's their theory behind it, right? Like the .in for India and Australia at times as well. The different rules that come and go or whatever it is, but they want to discourage.
.in has no such rule.
No, but anyways, I just want to say in general. I'm not talking specifics, but I'm just saying in general.
No, it's not in general. Also, this is completely nothing to do with .in.
Okay,
Australia has completely different rules. It's got nothing to do with .in, and don't spread FUD. There's no point.
Well, yeah, but I'm not. All I'm saying is there's some countries that they want the domains to be used, right? And that's their right. Every country has the right to create their own rules and their laws. That's why it's sometimes dangerous to invest in CCTLDs, right? Unless the rules are really defined, and if you think the country's government and long-term legal system is going to be stable, then yeah, it could be better investments and whatever it is. And there's some other countries where the governments aren't so stable, and somebody new comes into power can change the rules right away. But again, at the end of the day, I understand how some people want to have domains being used because that's it's really the world that profits from it. That was the whole point of the internet. But at the same time, the rules were made in a certain way where yeah, we can buy them and we can hold them, and as long as we're reasonable and or even unreasonable if there's no other marks in the name, then yeah, we can profit from it. So the rules are made so that yeah, we can. So I understand if you wanted to have the perfect thing where all domains were available only to people who want to build them out, well, those rules should have been set from the start, right? And they weren't. And as such, well, then there's opportunity, like in most real estate, where we can buy low and sell high. And that's just the way it is. And people who want to change that, I mean, they got to realize that it's been 30 years that, that's been open market and people have been able to profit from it. And how are you going to compensate people who invested in it? You can't just change the rules cold turkey. And I mean, I guess they can, but it's going to be so much backlash that I don't think any government's going to survive it.
Well, I dish it so I can take it, and what I mean by that is, yeah, I can call myself a domain investor or a domainer, and if somebody wants to call me a squatter, okay, they got a right to call us. And I know as a domain investor, I don't even care about explaining myself. No, listen, this is more like, I'm like, listen, if that's how you see it, I can fucking totally understand that. To me, it's just like ticket scalping. If they think, some people think those big companies that do that buy a bunch of tickets and then resell them. That's a sneaky, shifty. It's a bullshit business. So, I mean, anyway, so I know there's some folks that are like, listen, you can call it what you want, bro, and you guys can, and then you big domain brokers who act like these are, I understand both positions, and what I mean is if I was a lot of these long-term domain investors, which I consider myself, although I don't have as good ones as a lot of the guys I deal with, is yeah, they're trying to they want domains to be a digital asset, to be considered an asset so you can go to a bank and say, I own this name. And even the banks will tell you, no, no, no. And big money is telling you, no, no, no. They side more with the squatters, meaning we think these things are a liquid. We don't know if it's an up and up business. We certainly understand that some domains sell for a lot of money, but if you want to do it, you do it yourself. But no big companies are giving you, it's only your other insider friends over at Domain Capital are willing to loan you money on it. No commercial, real banks are willing to do that. But I'm sure, somebody wants to say something different. Hey, you know,
So wait,
yeah,
then you asked that, so I would like to. Um, I was in a meeting recently, and there were lawyers, and they didn't discuss getting money from domains, but it was very important that it was a digital asset and that it was an asset that be listed. So, as an asset in whether it's an estate or a trust of some purpose, that is a. I just wanted to correct you there, and not correction, but I'm not saying it has anything to do with being able to get money from it, but it is absolutely a digital asset is a property.
sure. Well, and they'll if they think it's worth anything, they'll say, like in a bankruptcy sale, hey, so this is a whatever. They'll certainly try to turn it into money, and they'll say, so we're going to count that as an asset for. I mean, I see for those reasons, but when it comes to I mean, obviously, I mean, good. That's a good example, KW. That lawyers can, on both sides of it, say this is an asset. Go through a divorce, and like if I went through a divorce, my wife is right behind me. The last thing she'd want is the domain name. She'd like, why don't you liquidate me, loser? But the point is, they would. I mean, I do know that they're considered assets in situations like that, and if a lawyer thinks he could turn a domain into money via like a bankruptcy auction, they certainly will. But okay, what I wanted to mention. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to mention. I mentioned it briefly. So, we are. Ryan is going to embark on this $1 million challenge, and it. It is. I think the difference that in this challenge than, well, I was going to say than anything we've ever seen before is, transparency. Basically, every dollar spent, well, how it's spent. I think they did do that in the Domain Academy challenge at GoDaddy. I mean, that GoDaddy had with the five guys, that basically those guys weren't afraid to show, hey, we started with $500. Here's how everything was spent. And when sales were made, was any of that money spent on new names? I don't know how transparent it was, but I think it was, pretty transparent. We know it really ended up, well, Mike's here. I think he won. I don't know if he won with turned it into 6,000 or 16,000. I can't remember.
It was about 6, and they were pretty transparent because they had the spreadsheet of everything they bought and everything they sold. So yeah, I think it's. I mean, the only thing I said it, last year at some point, is that I don't think it really represents true domain investing. It represents more of the trial to flip, because domain investing, with 1% sell through, if you're not doing outbound, is pretty passive, and it's very long term, especially if you're only buying for $500 worth. But if you're looking longer term, the results are there longer term. But to show that 1%, but again, that's not really what ended up happening, right? They ended up being aggressive and flipping wholesale and stuff like that. So I do think that the whole contest was not at all what the intended results, but I think we did learn something from it. I think seeing them do the wholesale aspect of it was really interesting. I learned a lot, so I thought it was really cool in the end, but not at all what was expected. It's not like I don't think it's a good judgment of traditional domain investing, where it's not, most people don't do outbound. But again, most of us don't do outbound, so let's learn about it, right? That's why I think it's something that we can learn from.
Well, Eric, that's a good point. That it is.
But at the highest level, domain investor needs marketing. That's why brokers are a crucial part of the ecosystem. And brokers, I mean, you would hope that a broker's not just sitting there and waiting for someone to come. You would want them to push and pull, right? So, everyone approaches domain investing differently. And this is why sometimes I like to listen to other people's perspectives, but at the end of the day, do what I feel like is best for me. For me personally, I've come back to the understanding that you have to market your names. And it even starts with the name selection, right? Like when you're looking at a bunch of names, a simple Google search gives you an idea of, oh wow, this person should know this name is for sale, right? But if you're just sitting there waiting for sales to happen, I don't think that's domain investing. I think that's more of a portfolio curation. So, but it is domain investing. My point is, everyone has a different approach to domain investing, but at the end of the day, it's all domain investing.
Let me say, because I want to get to Mike. Thanks for him joining us, but hold on for a second. I want to say, Eric, you made a good point. It's more of flipping. I like what we're going to do, or I'm going to hold Ryan to, that we agreed to in the $1 million challenges. At the end, so he's acquired names. At the very end, we're going to have a liquidation period. And boy, I'll tell you, that's going to be very interesting to know. Okay, say there's 12 names in the portfolio, or maybe 200. Who knows what it'll have at the end of the year? Then liquidate those names. How? Well, do it via Name Pros or maybe another marketplace, but starting basically auctioning what's in the portfolio at the end of that challenge for beginning at $1. I would have liked to have seen Mike and them do that, because then it would have increased, basically a nice little addition to go ahead and now let's clean out what you've collected. And it may have changed the results a little bit. Mike probably would have still won, but I mean, some of the others would have had some sales. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us, and tell us, how did that finish up there, the challenge?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
It finished well, and yes, I did win, and I turned the $500 into $6,000. I will, and RF pointed out correctly that the entire thing was transparent. You can still go to the URL, which I can't remember, but I have a blog post on mi.ke about the competition, and then linking to the spreadsheet, and you can still look through every single buy and sell that happened. And for the most part, I was pretty specific about how I sold it. So you can look at the notes, click on the X post that I made, click on the email that I sent out, and read exactly how I did it. So for those that really want to learn, really want to see how I convinced people to buy domain names rather than just being Mike Seiger and I said, buy this, you can go look, because I think everybody that I was competing against realized that if you don't tell somebody why a domain name that initially looks like it's worthless has value, like there are 30 TLDs that are registered and for other domain for the same SLD, and whatever other data you have, then yes, you're going to continue to get the same results. I did determine that, I think anybody at any point could have gotten lucky and had a retail sale of one of their domain names, and they might have beaten me. I could have gotten lucky. I tried to do some outbound and sell at retail, and it didn't work out for me. It didn't work out for anybody else. Joe Styler did some videos. He did some outreach. He had the benefit of GoDaddy, mentioning he worked at GoDaddy. It was a learning process. It was a fun competition. I think the one point that I will take in opposition to Arif is that it was a valid competition to show how to make money the very first year you start domain investing, because I talk about exactly which types of words I was investing in that are more likely to sell to end users and are definitely more likely to be of interest to other investors. And everybody else went a different way. Some people invested in, realtor type domain names and learned that, I think that was Joe Styler, and learned that realtors don't spend any money on domain names. And so it was a great experience. I think there's a ton to be learned by newer investors. The problem is I don't think that newer investors are spending the time to really learn the subject matter before they start investing. And, there's two ways to
Mike,
learn.
let
You
me ask you a
can learn
question.
a little
If you
bit.
were to give
Yeah,
advice
go
to a
for it.
newer investor, right? Would you tell a newer investor go out there and spend your first $5,000 and find names and list them on the marketplaces, or would you say spend the $5,000 and find the buyers for the names? Be proactive, go out there, connect with investors, connect with end users, or would you just say buy it and wait for your 1% sell through rate?
Neither of those things. I don't think that any newer investor is going to have the skills necessary to buy valuable domain names and aren't going to have the skills necessary to do the outbound sales to decision makers at companies. And at the same point, I don't think that people are going to be, I think people are going to waste a lot of money by buying a portfolio of domains and waiting for years until that 1% actually sells and they start to get feedback. If I were doing it today, and if I were restarting DN Academy today, I would build it around the concept that you need to learn a little bit about the types of domain names that sell more frequently, and then you need to use that in buying the domain names, and then you need to flip them to other investors so you get a feedback loop about what works and what doesn't work faster. That's what I would recommend today if I were redoing DN Academy from the ground up.
Maybe domain
Yeah,
graduate
I think
schools
that's
available. Hold on, Eric. I wanted
I
to
think
say,
that's a good.
yeah, okay, hold on. I want to ask Mike. We got 10 more minutes. We're only going today. We go 90 minutes now here in this room. Well, Mike, okay, so I want to ask you a question quickly. Ryan's doing this $1 to $1 million challenge. Okay, that's not even starting at 500. Every Friday, beginning July 31st, Ryan and I are going to have a weekly call that we're going to broadcast live. He's still going to always, give his videos per day. If you ever followed Ryan, you know he does a lot of videos. Still going to be doing the videos, but once the clock starts ticking on this 1 year challenge, we're going to have a call every Friday night, holding his feet to the fire. And then once a month, we're really going to go through all the transactions, all the stuff. Like, you want to be transparent. This is a dream for me, that I can go through everything. And then a lot of the exciting big talk, well, we're going to back it up with, real transactions, real numbers, and so on. But Mike, $1 to $1 million in a year with Domain Event. You just did a similar type of, basically a similar type of challenge. Do you believe it's possible to do something like this?
Possible, yes. Improbable, yes.
Gonna happen, yes.
time is a factor as well, right? Like if
And
you work
here's
8 hours a day.
Can I make a side bet of
here's what-
100 grand that it's not
here's
happening?
Yes, I'll take that bet.
here's what I'd like to see.
I'll take that bet with you for
Todd,
sure.
I'll
If
take
you're
that bet.
really
Hold
going
on.
to be truly
Let Mike
transparent,
speak, and then
I'll
let
take
Ryan
a side
speak,
bet
since we're
right
gonna-
now for 100 grand.
Hold on.
But
My
you're not going to
internet
make
might
your
be
fucking
bad.
Ish, but
$1
you
million
can reach
from a
out to him.
dollar.
But I understand you want to like lock it in, but we're not going anywhere.
I would
So-
like to see the side betting going on.
I just like
But
easy
Todd,
money.
I
Go
would
ahead.
like to see a spreadsheet of every single transaction on the date and time that it happens, and then every single sale and how he made that sale. What channel? Was it DNWE? Was it through his junkyard site? Was it outreach? Was it what? Because if he truly wants to be transparent, then I think that being able to see that in real time and not just once per month going through it verbally would be a better way to do it.
No,
and a lot of people would learn from it.
And Ryan, before you speak, I was going to say, funny you mentioned that, Mike, because I've already put together spreadsheets, these forms that document exactly what you're saying. When was it sold? What day? What avenue? What expenses? Even if you traveled to go visit the guy at the office, there's expenses there. We want to know everything about every transaction, and also the purchasing of the transaction. But okay, bet transparency. So Mike, I'm right with you, and I'm going to finish and then throw it to Ryan to say. So as we do these Friday things and these monthly, to hold, Ryan's feet to the fire to really. We are going to have some guests come in to help ask some tough questions. So, Mike, I hope you're available one of the months that when I'm really, it's the financial meetings to say, okay, we have a lot of questions about what's happened, and we are going to track it, real time, but we want to have a meeting where everybody can watch, that public meeting where we can ask the tough questions. Ryan,
Internet's a bit
Go ahead.
ropey, but I'd just to say I'll take Ishmaeli's 100 grand. Let's put it into escrow. The fact he thinks I can't do it is
How do I
really
know you're not going to use your own money to buy the names? $88, $2,500. Like, it's like, come on.
Listen, it's simple. Todd's the adjudicator.
Yeah.
It's on Todd.
Yeah. I'm gonna
But,
know. I'm gonna
ultimately,
track every transaction. He's starting with $1.
You want my 100 grand? I'll rather sell you $100,000 worth
No,
of
hold on,
names
hold
and
on,
go
Ish,
sit
hold
on.
on, Ish. If you go out there balls deep saying I'm not going to do it and bet 100 grand, I will take that 100 grand from you.
Nah, you're gonna game it, bro. I would
Ish,
listen. I'll bet you
no,
100 grand that I can turn $1
Ish,
into
Ish,
5 million if you
you
betting
called
me
the
100
bet.
grand. Because all I have to do is just buy
Ish,
names
you
and tell
called
people to
the
go
bet.
buy them.
You called the bet.
There's
take
no
the-
way to be transparent with
Of
that.
course there is.
It's
Ish.
not the blockchain.
Simple. It's pretty simple. Todd's pretty recognizing.
Ryan, I love you, man, but I don't believe it. I don't believe in
Well,
this.
you
I
haven't
don't
even
believe in
started the
this.
challenge.
I
It's
don't
sort of
believe
like,
that anyone can turn $1 into $1 million with domain
he's got
names.
5 minutes
If you
left,
do
so
it
let
all the
Ryan
time,
speak, and then
I'll
we're
take
wrapping.
that bet all day. I will take that bet all day because I'm happy to take your 100K. I don't give a shit whether you think it's legit or not. I will prove.
No,
to you-
I'm not. That's not a fair bet. There's no way to prove the
If-
transparency.
It was your bet, not mine. Let's get something straight.
Yeah,
You
I don't
you
trust
put
it.
your
No,
mouth in
my
line.
intuition tells me to call it off.
Ish.
Okay.
Ish. Never let your
Ryan, I
mouth-
love you, man. I wish you all the best with it, but I don't believe it.
The difference between me and you is I'm gonna cash my checks that my mouth speak. That's the difference between the two of us.
But
Okay,
Ryan,
so
you're not turning
well,
$1 into $1 million, man.
Well,
Like how?
I will
So-
take the bet from you. Watch the show.
And why haven't you done it already?
I have done it already, you cretin. I did 10 million last year. Did you not
From a
follow
dollar?
me? I started with $1. I started probably with minus money in 2020. It's been
Yeah,
online.
$1. You forgot the dream. Come
No,
on,
it's not.
brother.
Ish. It is what it is. I'm going to show you live on YouTube. It's up to you. Watch it or whatever. But if you put your mouth out there, I'm going to cash that check, Ish. Otherwise, shut the fuck up and watch along.
You're not turning $1 into $1 million, bro.
Well, watch along, Ish. That's the difference
Even,
between me and you.
I
I'm willing to
I-
put my mouth out there.
I was going to say something. Even if he doesn't, like, I mean, this whole thing is, even if he doesn't, we'll still learn from it, right?
Of course,
if he makes it like 100,000
I
from
agree.
$1, like it's still there. I mean, look, there's certain variables involved, like how much time you put into it. If you already have an existing mailing list,
We've all
like
talked
Mike
all
or like
day, Arif.
DNW.
You have a better
We're going
chance
for
of
a few
making
more
the.
minutes. Ish,
You have a better chance of.
Ish,
of
we've
playing,
talked. You've
playing
talked.
for England in the
talked.
next World Cup.
Ryan hasn't said anything. I want him to, say a few things that, give him a chance to speak, and then we're only going for a couple more minutes. So Ryan, tell us why you're excited about the challenge. Basically, we're starting in 2 weeks, so I'm getting pumped.
Yeah, could we just get past the bet? It wasn't a bet. It was a manner of speech. That's
No,
how
thank-
people talk.
hold on,
People
hold on.
talk like that. It was a
Hold on.
manner of
Okay.
speech. It wasn't a real bet.
Hold on. I think you've also got in Arif earlier. Arif said that he was the most transparent person. That happened. Watch this. Listen back, right? So I'm just saying, be careful with what you say. It's all fine. It's all good. There's no
I
harm, no
didn't say
drama.
that, Ryan. I didn't say
Hold on.
that.
Hold on,
I didn't
Arif.
say
Just
that.
listen back to it. Just listen back to it. I'm not going to split words with you. I know you're transparent with stuff, right? You want to see the NWE data. I'm happy to share it with you. I disclose everything. You're going to see it on YouTube, and maybe you don't believe it. Who knows, right? I will not be using my contacts. I will not be using anything. There's a logical place to start. And while it sounds wild, it's going to be hours put behind the computer. That's what I'm going to show. It's that kind of thing. Anyone can do it. And if you want to make $1 million, yes, do you know what? You have to work 20 hours a day, right? You're pushing a rock up a hill, right? We'll get some momentum, but it's going to be hard, and it's going to be the hours like putting the makes it, because I've done it before and I'll do it again. That's why I'm doing it. It's simple.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you're not going to do it. I'm just saying that that's not really the point from my side. The point is to learn what's the process you're doing. That I think the learning process and the what you're going to be doing is going to be more important than whether you make it or not, right? Obviously, it'd be great if you make it. I'm rooting for you. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying you're not going to do it either, right? I'm just saying is that I'm looking forward to the process, because I think to go from $1 to $1 million, it's like a car going, a manual car going from 1 to 200, right? It's like you're going to go into first gear, you're going to start flipping little things here and there, and then you're going to go into second gear, and you're going to start buying slightly bigger domains and selling a little bit more, and then at some point you'll put some stuff into retail. And I don't even know if you've set the time limit. Is it a 1-year thing, or is it ongoing? Like for me,
It
anything
is.
with a
There's
time
rules
limit,
and everything to it. Oh, hold on for a second. I'm shutting this fucking thing down. It's fucking stupid.
you
For
say the
one,
rules.
hold on. For one, if anybody has a question, hey, that doesn't make sense to me, Todd. He's saying this and you're letting it go. Listen, it's like stepping in. If anybody has a question as we're saying we're going to be transparent, yeah, listen, I sent over 32 or 36 agreements. I can't even to Ryan to say, if you're really going to do this, there's so much to track. There's so much to motherfucking do. And so I think I'm pretty much going to be on top of it. And plus, I'm going to reach out. Anybody that is following along that thinks, you know what, that didn't make sense to me. I think he did do something here that doesn't add up. We're going to, really look at this close. I was going to say, as transparent as sort of like an auditor doing a financial audit of somebody who we're going to have, a separate account. So we're going to do, if someone thinks right there's something that's not transparent, you're going to have a chance to bring it to my attention. And, anyway, I'm really looking forward to this because I want to be able to track it and show, hey, so are you behind, you ahead? But we know it's a big
Todd, do you
challenge.
believe it's going to hit the $1 million? Yes or no?
I think
I don't
I think it's
Yes or no,
possible.
Todd?
I think it's possible because of how him
Oh,
acquiring names. I think it absolutely is possible acquiring names, because the one thing that we've put in at the end of the 12 months, the challenge stops, no more transactions, and if he has built a portfolio of names, we're going to liquidate them. If he's got up to a few 100,000 and we liquidate the names and they are actually good names, so it is possible. Is it difficult? Yeah, I would say. I got my thumbs down right now, thinking it's, it's like card sharks. I'm gonna say the chances are probably greater that someone cannot do this, but he's taking on the challenge, and I think if anybody can do it, I think Ryan is, one of the ones that can do it because of the work that he's willing to put in, and that is, like you mentioned, so many hours per day. But it's going to be fun for people to follow along, and if I know I don't consider it a hater, I consider it being skeptical. So this is exactly what Ryan and I discussed. We want, from whether you're in the domain space or you're outside the domain space, come along, question it, and then have difficult questions. Basically, be skeptical and make sure that that we think we're going to be as transparent as possible, inside and out. I'm going to be naked on the first podcast. Okay, maybe
Can I say
gross.
something,
Yeah, go
Todd?
ahead.
So I've been doing business now for almost 40 years. And if there's one thing I've learned is never bet against the crazy people. If I had $1 for each time someone told me this can't be done or this won't work, or I'd be really rich, So every time someone told me it couldn't be done, I figured out a way to make money from it. And that's why I'm saying don't bet against the crazy people. If you think it's possible, and you work towards it, even if it, like Arif says, even if you don't reach the million, suppose you reach 20,000, even in that you'll get a learning. Suppose you don't reach anywhere, even in that you'll get a learning. But I think he'll reach a substantial figure, if not a million, or I don't
I
know,
think
maybe he flips a domain for $30 million and he takes $1 million home in commission. Both are possible.
I think the key thing here, right, is it's going to be entertaining. The purpose of this is to get people who think of this as like Andrew Tate, okay? But the product isn't other people. The product is genuinely, legitimately domain names are super simple to buy, to hold, to custody, to sell, to broker, to invest in, to wait. I will go through the whole experience because I'm going to experience the same problems I experienced the first time, which is you get a good sale to start with, then you put in too much money and you get locked out. So then you have to go back to the front running and the hustling and everything else that goes along with that. I'm not going to shy away from anything, and it's going to be entertaining. That's the whole point, and that's why when Ish said about the 100 grand, I'm like, oh, I'll take it all day long. Because for me, I'm not the crazy person. You guys are crazy to think that it can't be done. Is wild to me. When I did 10 million last year, it is wild. Just go and speak to any of the big brokers. I'm behind the scenes. I'm there. Look at Junkyard that's gone up. Look. There's so much that's going to happen this year. I won't be using email contact lists. I won't be using any contacts. I won't be doing anything. I'll show you from exactly step one. I'll experience it all. It's going to be fun. And the whole purpose here is to show other people that domains are a legitimate business. And there's so much opportunity to run a second series where someone else might come in and try and beat my record. They might be able to do it in 280 days based on what they learn from me. Maybe they're a coder or a developer. They can use automation. Maybe the second series, which is my speciality, would be websites. Can I get from 1 to 100 million? And this all ties in for me IPOing in 2030 for $100 billion, giving it all away and becoming prime minister. That's the whole purpose of this challenge, right? And I am not going to fail on step one.
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The $10 million you did last year, what was the cost of those domains?
The profit was 5.5 mil.
So you had like a 2x, less than a 2x. So how do you extrapolate that to this type of ROI from $1?
So the key thing is I'm going to front run. The only way I can get volume is front running. So there's orphan domains that no one knows about. I'll take it from step one, and then I won't be using .db or anything. So I've only got $1 to spend. So I'm going to have to front run. If I can get $500, I can get .db subscription. Then I can do it in volume. I can maybe look at coding some marketplaces in the future, integrating Stripe using ChatGPT when I can afford a subscription. And then I'll get in the forums. I'll go to events. I'll build my network. I'll do the whole thing that I did years ago, just with more experience. And when I hit a snag and I get to $5,000, I invest in a domain that I think I'm going to sell, and I don't sell because that's just the way it is. Even data will let you down sometimes. Then I will go back to hustling and doing what's needed to get it done. And so I think what GoDaddy did was great, but it wasn't true domain investing because it was so limited to what you can and can't do. I don't use expired domains. But
yours is limited because you're only doing $1. $1 is not enough.
But you don't need any money. The whole point here is you don't need money on domain names. Find an orphan domain name where there's a legitimate place to buy it, but the owner just doesn't exist. So this is the whole point, right? I have unique insights now. Whether you believe about 10 million last year or the IPO or anything, it's kind of largely irrelevant because it's going to be pretty evident in the first month. This was like the thing is, when I was on Sherpa and Drew's like, I bet you can't buy DN.com by Christmas time, or I'm going to, fine, Drew. Do you know what? I'll bet you Sherpa. That's how confident I'll bet you Sherpa that you can't sell American.co before I buy you die out. That's a guarantee in my mind. It's wild that he would even think anything else, and that's why he backs off. And people are quick to shout out stuff. I'll take any bet you want to make, right? And just to understand, I was a year ahead at school. I did maths at uni. I was really ill in 2020. My why, that's the reason why I get up at 2 a.m. and I go to bed at midnight for a reason, and that's going to be 2030. Right? I genuinely want to impact stuff, and this is a great way for me to come on the show, give it big. I'll take Todd's. I don't think Todd thinks I'm going to do it, and I'm cool by that, right? We'll have a bit of banter, and I'm totally cool with it. Let the show run. It's literally within a month of launch, you're going to know whether I'm full of shit or not, because the hardest bit is going to get starting with $1, getting that up to 500, and then I'm away, I'm gone. And there'll be parts where I can't be bothered or it slows down everything else. But it's an entertainment show, right? It's going to cost quite a bit to put this on, right? I've got full-time videographer. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'm not going to be able to get away from the camera long enough to do anything dodgy, and I don't want to, because that's the whole thing is there's going to be a point at some point this year, there's going to be a wow moment where they're like, fuck, Ryan was the guy that did this thing or could do this thing that he's been saying about for years, that everyone always jumps on the wagon and say they're going to do this, that, and the other. And for the last 2 years, I've just kept my head down, quietly built. You've seen it with Junkyard. There's more stuff coming. just head down, build, build, build. There's a time to be loud and everything else. There's a time to just build. And now's the time to just basically quiet down for the next 2 weeks for me, and then see where it lies. In what, it's not asking a lot for people to give 6 weeks from now to see if I'm full of shit or not.
And it's no different than I was thinking. And then Ryan, you're right. Yeah, I'm like, well, this is going to be fun, but yeah, we're going to, hard on each other. Ryan likes to come at us Americans too. Let's just face the music. He likes to try to put us in our place. And I say try because we'll handle this in Trafalgar Square. Hey, but no, this is going to be fun. And it's just like those things. Hey, you want to buy real estate, no money down? Come in, take my class. All right, well, let's get to we're going to, basically, we're going to follow every transaction, every move, but we're going to hold Ryan to his word. Basically, it doesn't matter. The time's going to go by. We're going to start this thing in a couple weeks. And like I said, we're going to have it all laid out on here's how you can follow along. If you want to follow along, we're going to have it all there for you. But, I was trying to get ducks in a row because this is a real challenge. He's really taken it very seriously. And he doesn't need to do this. It's really a challenge to himself. I know, Ryan doesn't need to do this. And I know he's really got a whole team that's, ready to basically sort of shift their focus because they're building some companies. Some of them have to shift their focus into tracking him, but we didn't want somebody from the inside to, hold his feet to the fire and make sure everything's transparent. He asked me and I said, all right, well, you got to agree to all this stuff. Here's the terms of the actual challenge. And he's let me come in and, say, hey, these are the things that we're going to monitor. And I'm going to expect you to be able to, share all this financial information and so on. He's like, all right, we're going to do this thing. So anyway, that starts in a couple weeks. That's going to be it for today. We normally go 90 minutes here. This is the DNX show. We're going to be here next Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, about that $1 million challenge. Yeah, it's going to be every Friday. We're going to start July 31st. So that's 2 weeks from tomorrow. But I'm going to be promoting it, just so everybody knows once we get going on my law show and here. And I look forward to everybody else, following along and, be skeptical, ask us questions about it. Anyway, so that's going to be it for today. We appreciate everybody being here. If you're listening
Yeah, I
on
think
replay, you want to.
Todd, I was considered really cool if you guys could, spelled out all the details of how it's going to work and the rules and all that stuff, because maybe some people might want to follow along or join, try it at the same time, and so that might be just to lay it out.
I got you. You got it. The rules of the challenge, and basically there's a lot to it, and we have it all, so it's all going to be posted. And Ryan and I are deciding on, not really deciding. We know we can just post it online and let people see it. We have a frequently asked questions, but what about this and what about that? And then you're going to learn as you also follow along. I'm looking forward to the beginning more than anything because of
me too.
how how you get rolling. And Ryan mentioned that hot word, front running. Okay, people want to know, like it is, how do you start? How do you get real estate with no money down? How do you get domains with no money? And how do you, really, launch yourself? How do you get this challenge underway? All right, so that's going to be it for today. Take it easy wherever you're at. We'll talk to you next week.